Seriously, go over to Zambia now. When Zambia declared Oliver Tambo's safe house in Lusaka a heritage site in February, it was a clear reminder of the role that Zambia played in the stalwart's life and the struggle for liberation. But there is more to Zambia's hospitality for the struggle, and incumbent President Jacob Zuma calls it the former headquarters of the ANC. Take a look at this insert.
When Tambo went into exile in 1961, he set up the ANC headquarters in Tanzania in a bid to get Umkhonto weSizwe to get military training in that country. Northern Rhodesia, present-day Zambia, became critical for the passage of refugees from Botswana. In 1969, Tambo moved the headquarters to Lusaka, which also became the home of Radio Freedom, which could be received in South Africa. In 1985, the ANC held its first national consultative conference in Lusaka. The Zambian army provided security, but Zambia too was not immune to apartheid pressure and atrocities. Just 2 weeks after former President Nelson Mandela's release and the unbanning of the ANC in 1990, he visited Zambia to meet the ANC NEC.
He is the man who can work from 6 o'clock in the morning, past 12 midnight, working continuously, forgetting that he should eat. And a man like that deserves a hero's welcome.
That same year, the ANC Women's League met in Lusaka to elect its interim leadership ahead of their return to South Africa. Post-1994, South Africa and Zambia established full diplomatic relations.
With his fellow exiles, he preached reconciliation, preached, don't forget, you can't forget your history, but forgive. He did that, I believe, is one of the most wonderful examples of correct leadership.
Since his passing, O.R. Tambo's birthday is celebrated every year. A visit to his grave in Benoni, the norm, and an opportunity to reflect on the values he stood for.
What would O.R. have done? And what O.R. would have done would have said, the reason we sit in those positions of leadership is to serve the people of South Africa. Nothing else. That none of us sit in positions of authority to serve ourselves, to enrich ourselves, to make sure that we appear on television every day, to become popular. We sit in positions of leadership in order to serve the people of South Africa. That's what O.R. Tambo would have said.
President Jacob Zuma's visit to Zambia will cement relations between the two countries. Sophie Mkwena, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, very interesting piece put together there by Sophie. Now, let's cross over to SABC News reporter Mzwandile. He is actually in Zambia at the moment. Good to see you, Mzwandile. We saw such a wonderful insert put together about the history of O.R. Tambo and Zambia being there. What is it like for you, and what are the events that are happening today?
Thank you very much, Leanne. Indeed, a very good piece that really reflects what exactly will be happening here in Zambia. I can just remind you quickly, Leanne, that President Zuma in the next maybe 30 minutes will be landing here. We are at the airport, the Lusaka International Airport. Rather, it's called now the Dr. Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. We are here waiting for his arrival. He will then start his 2-day visit. And one of the highlights, Leanne, is that we will go to a place where O.R. used to live, a house where Oliver Tambo used to live. You remember he lived in this country for 22 years. So indeed, he saw this country as his second home. And for many other of his comrades, they see this country as their second home. But Leanne, let me speak to Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, who's been very involved in what will be happening, particularly tomorrow, because it is a state visit, but there is a highlight to this, and the highlight is about OR. Minister Mthethwa, just tell us more about this importance of celebrating OR Tambo and the work that you've done already.
Well, thanks, Baba. We were here in February, in Mbeje, in February this year, and the state of house was a dilapidated one. And we emphasized that this is OR Tambo year, so we need to do something together with my counterpart here, Minister Panda, which we did. We don't see it only as a house where OR stayed, but more as a part of the project who are involved in on the continent, which is the Liberation Heritage Route. We see this house as part of the trail of that route. If you remember, for instance, we have the Matola Interpretive Center, we have Mzwandile, and we are engaging with Angola for Quito Carnival next year.
So what does this mean, especially when South Africa is preparing to celebrate what would be his 100th birthday?
Well, it means a lot. It means a lot. It means that our neighboring countries around the continent have not forgotten the role which the African National Congress, led by Oliver Tambo, played, particularly in Pan-Africanism on the continent, but also broadly in the liberation struggle. That is why UNESCO and AU agreed that we've got to write the story of liberation heritage through, such things as the sites like OR Tambo House. So we're excited that it's reaching the point where it is, and it corresponds with what we are planning and doing at home for OR Tambo as well.
Perhaps quickly, what is happening in terms of the Enkantolo and the Mbizana preparations?
We are starting with the process of building OR Tambo Memorial Library in the area of Enkantolo, which is going to have the interpretive center as well, along the lines of what we have in Matola. And we believe that it's going to have a lasting legacy for OR Tambo.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you so much.
There was Minister Nathi Mthethwa there giving us a bit about what's going to be happening regarding the preparations of OR Tambo. But as we had said earlier, we are here for a state visit that President Zuma is going to undertake. And of course, the issues that involve OR Tambo are very important. In the next 20 minutes or so, we expect his plane to land. Leanne?
Mzwandile, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again tomorrow ahead of that state visit that our president is paying to Zambia.